What documents do you need for the K-1 fiancé visa process? That's what we're talking about on today's episode of Sumner School Family Immigration Basics. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law, and this is a question that we get all the time from prospective clients who are thinking about this process and want to be planning ahead and thinking about what they need to gather. As you may know, there are three major stages to the K-1 fiancé visa process and subsequent green card application. We have a high-level overview of that in episode 8, if you want to check that out, episode 8 of Sumner School Family Immigration Basics. As always, this information is for educational and informational purposes. It is not legal advice, it is not a how-to, and it is not a complete list of everything that you'll need, but a high-level overview of what the kinds of things you should be thinking about. So for the first stage of the K-1 process, that I-129F filing, you will need to prove that the U.S. citizen petitioner is a U.S. citizen. So that's something like passport or U.S. birth certificate. Proof that both parties, both fiancés, are eligible to marry. So that could be things like divorce decrees or death certificates from prior spouses. Proof of the relationship, documentation of the relationship. And episode 7 is about how USCIS determines whether a relationship is bona fide. It talks about the marriage-based green card process, but the documentation is similar. Proof that you have met with in person within the past 2 years is critically important, and a statement of intent to marry from both fiancés. For the second stage of the process, when the foreign national fiancé goes to the embassy or a consulate to apply for the K-1 visa, they will need their passport, valid passport, birth certificate, police certificate, a medical exam, affidavit of support, which is different from the green card affidavit of support. It's a different form, and proof of relationship, and also proof that they're eligible to marry. So if either of the fiancés have been married before, we recommend taking the divorce decrees and or death certificates for the prior spouses to show that those marriages have been dissolved. At the consular stage, keep in mind that every embassy is different in terms of their processing of K-1s and may have different documentation and different processes that is required. So make sure that you check carefully with a specific embassy or consulate that you're going to make sure you have everything that you'll need for the process. In addition, for the medical exam, most of the time you cannot have that scheduled before you have the interview date scheduled. So it's not something you can do proactively, but you can be thinking about it and where you might want to go. The third stage of the process is applying for the green card once you're here in the United States. So you enter the US on the K-1, you get married within 90 days, and you apply for that green card. For that process, you will need your marriage certificate. Again, we include documentation in our practice. We include documentation to show that any previous marriages have been properly dissolved. Affidavit of support, which is different from the affidavit of support at the K-1 stage. It's a different form, similar documentation that you'll need, including perhaps tax documentation, pay stubs, depending on the source of income. Updated proof of relationship, we include that proactively with the I-485 filing. And overall, for all of these three stages, some tips. It is important that you keep a complete copy of the filing. So if you're working with us as your immigration attorney, you always have access to that. We keep a complete filing of everything that we sent to immigration. If you're doing this on your own, and that's not necessarily something I recommend, but if you are doing this on your own, absolutely keep a complete copy, a full copy of everything that you file. If there's a problem later and you do have to talk with an immigration lawyer, we are going to want to see that. The complete copy of everything we filed. Otherwise, we can't tell what's going on and where the problem is coming from. So keep a complete copy of everything that you have filed. Make sure that documents are translated. In general, if documents are not in English, they have to be accompanied by a certified translation. The amount of documentation that you have to show, right? There are some documents that are black and white, right? Your marriage certificate once you're married, or your divorce decree if you have that, or your birth certificate. Proof that you're a US citizen. It's just one document that you submit and that's done. But for other things like the affidavit of support, or especially documentation of your relationship, you want to balance the documentation that you're sending and make sure that you're sending enough, but not too much. So you think about quality of the documentation versus quantity. And that's something that we as immigration attorneys help our clients with every single day, making sure that their documentation is well balanced, that it is sufficient but not overboard, and not underwhelming as well, and that it's well organized and clearly presented. That makes a tremendous difference in how the officer reviews the file and what happens next after that. And then I said this before, but remember that every embassy is different. That's one of the frustrating parts of the K-1 is that every embassy has a slightly different process and requirements and documentation required. So you have to check that out and make sure that you're following their exact steps as they have it set up. Our episode number 9 in Sumner School Family Immigration Basics is about a comparison of the marriage-based options. So again, this video is about documentation specifically for the K-1 fiancé process and the subsequent green card application process. But if you're not sure which process is the most appropriate one for you or even what your options are, episode 9 is a great episode to check out to talk about the different marriage-based or fiancé-based green card application options that you have available. I hope that you have found this information helpful. If so, please share this video with a family member or a friend. Like it, comment. I'm not able to give legal advice on this forum, but if you have a general question, pop it in the comments and I'm happy to answer if I can. And make sure that you are subscribed to this channel so you don't miss our next video. If you're looking for help with an immigration process in the United States, whether it's family-based or employment-based, feel free to contact us. The first step would be setting up a consultation so we can talk about your goals, your objectives, and then help you come up with a clear strategic plan to get that accomplished. Again, my name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. We assist clients from all over the world and all over the United States with family-based and employment-based immigration matters. Until next time.